you play your part. For those of you probably, if you leave at home, we do remind you that the wearing of the mask, it's of critical importance that you do. You don't want just to run yourself afoul of the law. Listen, I always say, do it my way. I try my best, unless a police officer is asking me how I'm doing. That's the only question I want any police officer to ask me. How are you doing, sir? And I answer, fine, thank you. And it must be we give each other a mutual smile and I move. You know, for me, that's fine. But listen, some of you don't know how to behave too well. So try to avoid the police having to ask you anything. But even outside of that, it's just part of your responsibility. Wear your mask. Good morning and welcome to our viewers on GBN's Channel 7 and Channel 11, Channel 20. For those of you that is on cable, those of you that's joining us via the World Wide Web at www.gbn.gd, or you chiming in via our YouTube channel or Facebook page. Good morning to you. My guest this morning, Sergeant Williams of the South St. George Police Station attached to the Traffic Department. Good morning to you, Sergeant. How are you?
Well, a pleasant good morning to you, JC, and again, a pleasant good morning to the listening public. I'm good.
It's quite a while I haven't seen you, though. I know I understand.
Yes.
You dug deep south.
Deep south. I'm in Port of Spain.
That explains it. So why I haven't seen him around tongue. I'm like, okay, now I understand. Yeah. You are down. You're down deep south. Wonderful.
Yes.
But of course, doing what you do best, we know. Keeping the traffic. I mean, we really appreciate the job that the raw grid of the police force does. We don't always agree, and that is okay. And we're not supposed to always agree with the police. Once we appreciate what needs to be done from the role, from the perspective of law enforcement, and from us as law-abiding citizens. No,
and that's very true.
That is just the way it has to be. The conversation of road safety, traffic, it is always going to be one that conjures up excitement. And the south of the island, no doubt, and I know that for a fact, the south of the island is always one that brings to bear its own challenges. But how is things on the south in terms of what's happening on the road, the busmen, the attitude towards the law, use of the bus stops and everything else?
Well, JC, I must say that at the south, I mean, the public right now is aware that the south of the island is becoming the central business district for Cadore. It's a gateway to the country, and we have seen an increase in terms of the numbers. The density of the population down here is growing every day. The increase in nightlife activities, even though in these COVID times, the activities at nights prior to COVID, we have seen a significant increase in this regard. It's because of the COVID now. The midnight curfew is on, so persons is adhering to it. But the south of the island, JC, is really congested area now. It's a challenge to police it where traffic policing is concerned, because we've seen an increase in, so long as there's an increase in our business activities, there will be an increase in the amount of vehicles on our roads, and we have since been experiencing that. We've since been experiencing an increase in the amount of motor vehicle accidents because of the increasing numbers of vehicles on the road, and so forth. We have seen an increase, specifically with that of vehicle to vehicle, motor vehicle to motor vehicle. You wouldn't believe it, JC. For the period 2021 thus far, we have been bombarded with accidents. There's 240 motor vehicle accidents in the south alone thus far.
That's just in the south of the island.
That's just in the south of the island. Of those numbers, we have seen 4 serious and 1 fatal. We have a fatal accident that is under investigation as we speak. If we do the comparison from last year time, so we'd have had 218 accidents. So there's an increase, and it's solely because of the activities in the south of the island. Other traffic, I don't want to speak too much on the buses, but they are our biggest customers. They are the ones that fly the route, over 100 and something buses per day, traversing the south of the island, in and out of the town of St. George. And with the support of the warden, we somewhat have it under control in terms of policing the activities of sorry, the busmen in the south. Other than that, JC, it's okay down here. It's okay down here. We just want to implore persons to be mindful that because of the activities down here, the congestion, the amount of congestion on our roads is a likelihood. So you're coming to the south prepared to be in terms of movement of traffic, expect traffic delays and so on.
Right. But let me ask you though, because I mean the figures are quite alarming. So for the period under review for 2021 so far, you said there's been 240 road accidents, of which you've had you've had some serious ones, and there's been some fatality. There's one fatality. For the same period, the year before, what was that number?
We would have had from January to end of May of 2020, we would have had a total of 218 accidents. 218.
So 218 in 2020. That's when we're on lockdown. We're on lockdown. 240. No. Okay. What in your estimation? Because people are probably thinking, okay, lockdown continues. The only difference, of course, is what is it that's causing? I mean, those accidents that take place. What are some of the factors giving rise to them? We talk about the increased volume of traffic, and that increased volume is not something that is just specific to the south of the island. That's a national conversation that has to take on, in terms of addressing it, it takes on extended conversation. But what in your estimation, Sergeant, is responsible for that increase that you are seeing in road accidents?
Yes. I must say that of those accidents I spoke of just now, 234 of those accidents would have been minor accidents, very minor in terms of damages and minor in terms of injuries where injuries is caused. The cause of those accidents, the investigation have since revealed that the bulk of the cause of those accidents is because of mere driving without due care, persons gazing, some of which is also affiliated with speeding. We have a total of 71 accidents where speeding is concerned. Those numbers are questionable. I must say that we are trying our best, but most persons would merely gaze, and which eventually lead to the commission those accidents. So it's a mere driving without due care and attention. Persons not exercising that level of care while they're on the road. A mere gazing, taking your eyes off from the road could cause an accident. Failing to give way to traffic or obey traffic road signs and notices would sometimes give way to accidents. And some of the causes, as I told you just now, what comes up from those accidents is as a result of persons speeding, exceeding the speed limit, and in some cases, driving in some manner reckless. So not in short, adhering to the rules of the road regards to speeding and failing to give way to other traffic.
Because, for instance, I mean, the highway code is very strict in terms of how a driver would engage with another driver. If you're coming from a minor into a major, give way to traffic, all those sort of things. But you get a sense, though, because more and more you're recognizing, yes, we have a much more youthful population. So you're realizing there are much younger drivers on the road. And do you think is that sort of youthful exuberance that sometimes lends to persons not following the letter of the law in terms of what the highway code dictates?
Well, JC, I must say that when one applies for the driving license and during driving license examination, you see a clear demonstration of all the road rules, hand signal and the use of the hand signal and electrical indications, the slowing down and approach to pedestrian crossings, the stopping and slowing down gradually as you approach his minor and major road, and that clear demonstration of good road ethics. We see that ever so often. But as soon as persons get the license, JC, I must say that as though persons forget about those things. And and as simple as it may look, it could avoid or prevent accidents. You know, you're getting onto a major road from a minor road, you're obligated to slow down, hand signal, slow down, demonstrate your indications left with your electrical indicator, and support it with your hand signal. And you're approaching a pedestrian crossing. The standard practice is that you slow down as you approach the crossing and use your hand signal to that one person's behind you that you're slowing down. And those practices are more suggestive. As much as you're gaining experience on the road, persons forget those things. And those are some of the contributing factors at times, failing to indicate, failing to give proper hand signal that results in accidents.
There is the introduction of the mobile devices, these gadgets that has become part of our everyday lives that is almost difficult for us to separate ourselves from. And we know that I'm saying ourselves because I'm certainly one. I mean, my gadget has become part of me in terms of its functionality. How much of a concern is there that the road, these increasing number of accidents is in any way associated? You're talking about driving without due care and attention. Mobile devices, how much of a factor do they play based on your investigation? They seem to have lost visual communication with you. The Sons of Classic. It is about 22 minutes onto the hour. We take a quick commercial break. Those of you that is on television, take a quick commercial break. We seem to have run into some technical challenges, and we are going to be right back. It's a mid-morning buzz right here on Classic in the morning time.
It's time to line virtually one more time. Gemma Rayburn Baines here for Spice Island Cultural Festival, a celebration of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. This summer's festival is a celebration of life with food, fashion, music, and culture. Join us online Saturday, July 10th, 3 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube at Spice Island Cultural Festival. Info, spiceislandculturalday.com.
Hello, Grenada. This is Albert Dubai Richards from Radio Antilles. Join me this Friday from 8 p.m. along with Jeff Aird and the We Culture team as we go back to the days of great radio programming. Grenada, don't miss it, all right?
We're talking about the number of accidents on the road. You hinted to the fact, though, that most of them minor, and we're happy that there have not been any fatalities. But it was about, you hinted to the fact that you were saying that to get one's license, persons follow the letter of the law as though it's gospel. And it's as though the more experienced they become, the more and more they seem to abandon that which is the most critical rule book that they have to live by when driving on the nation's road.
Yes, well, Jesse, I spoke a lot in relation to that, and I mean, as I said, it's really not ethical when one is on the road and they're failing to obey the rules of the road regards to the warning of persons, other drivers, the whole idea of using the appropriate hand signal and electrical indication on the vehicles and so forth, and what would happen, the implications that it could cause, what would happen if one failed to use proper hand signal. I must make mention that a lot of persons is not of the view, or they does not know that it's an offense under the Road Traffic Act to not to give appropriate hand signal and indications when turning left or turning right, and similarly when slowing down. And it's not one of our areas where we issue a lot of tickets in, and then this is primarily because persons, we prefer to speak to persons on that basis, and somebody.
Again, we are experiencing some difficulties with Sergeant Williams down there at the South St. George police station. We want to apologize for that, Master Control. If we can just sort that out, do full screen so we can, okay, here's what we do. We'll take a quick commercial break, Master Control. Take a quick commercial break. Okay, it seems as though Timon, just give him a few minutes so he can settle down, so we don't have unnecessarily the distraction of him moving around. It is 18 minutes onto the hour of 12 o'clock. Reminding you at the top of the hour, it's going to be the midday edition, a production of our News and Current Affairs Department. Murphy's Law states that if anything goes wrong, it goes wrong at the worst possible time. And Murphy's Law is literally playing through today. Technology as it is, it says it fails you at the most critical times. But certainly we accept the realities of it. Sergeant Williams, we are back. We're back with you. And you're highlighting the fact quite critically, and I'm hearing the concern in your voice regarding that seeming non-adherence to the highway code. Why do you add it, and you've highlighted it as a concern on the south of the island? Is that just a challenge on the south, or as a police officer, can you highlight that? Is it a concern of it as in general regarding the treatment and use of what happens on the nation's road? I'm not hearing you. Yeah? Go ahead.
You hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
As I was saying, it's not only at the south of the island we're experiencing that increase in accidents and persons not obeying the rules of the road regarding signs and signals. In fact, I must say that it's an island-wide issue. I speak specifically as to the south because of some of the activities that goes on here. I must make mention as simple as the cell phone. For this year alone, you won't believe it, that we would have issued 145 fixed penalty tickets for persons just using cell phone or holding in their hand cell phone while driving. And you know as to the implications. The whole idea of what would derive from one being distracted as they're driving. So, Jesse, I must say that, and I spoke in length about the feeling to obey the rules of the road and the whole idea of what's the implication. I must say it's an island-wide crisis. It's a problem that we experience throughout the island. And that, I wish to use this medium to influence persons, especially with the use of the cell phone, to try to avoid using the cell phone while driving. Practice safe hand signaling and indications while on the road. Obey the speed rules, the rules of the road. You know the speed limits, by now persons know that it's 35 mph for buses and trucks outside of town and 40 mph for private vehicles outside of town. So persons need to obey. I'm not going to base the whole idea of speeding and recklessness to new drivers or to young drivers. It's a problem that we're experiencing generally, nearly across the board with drivers on our roads.
And I'm agreeing with you, because it's interesting that the rookies on the road, the younger drivers, they tend to be much more conscious of it. And as they grow older, I guess they dwarf into what has become a culture. You know what? I have arrived. I can handle machines. So you know what? As they say in the local parlance, we say "Zafe that." We seem to abandon those rules. Concerns have been raised, and it was just brought to my attention the issue of so loud and sometimes what could be obnoxious horns that's used by busmen, and specific concern was brought to the south of the island, where I know years ago as the Commissioner Clarkson, there was a program to address those. Is that a concern for you? If so, your thoughts on how it can be addressed or is being addressed?
Well, JC, it is a concern. As a matter of fact, it's become like style these days. Persons removing the original horns, the horn that is constructed with the vehicle, and inserting those what we call air horns and musical horns. and all those things that is so annoying, not only to police but to the general public. A lot of the buses, I must say, is victim of those things. As recent as yesterday, I was speaking to a driver of one of the minibuses along the Grandance Road. They use it to allot persons, allot passengers, prospective passengers that they believe want bus, so they would blow that loud, annoying horn, all in an effort to attract the passenger. But it's an offense under the Road Traffic Act to even alter or change any parts that the vehicle comes with. You would find it strange that during the inspection time, the period allotted for inspection, they would remove the air horns, insert the original horn on the vehicle that the vehicle comes with, and then they would go there, pass the inspection. As soon as they get that certificate that would warn them or qualify them to be on the road,
right,
they would go back and insert those air horns. What we're doing these days, JC, I must say, is informing persons and warning them as to the law that speaks to carrying air horns or any other device that is not constructed or manufactured with the vehicle, and have them remove it. If failure to do so, they would be served with an inspection notice where they would have to go back to the center where the inspection was done, and they would be inspected. And speaking specifically to the defects, which would be the horn. It's also, we could give them it's also ticketable. They could be charged for causing noise, their nuisance, causing noise to persons by the horn, any part of the
because
vehicle.
there is still the noise pollution act, and I'm thinking, given that it seems to be becoming such a culture, is it a failure? Who takes responsibility? I can only assume and say openly that it seems as though it's a failure of the RGPF, because one installs it, two, to me, by the time the third one, they should be able to appreciate that there's a zero tolerance approach by the RGPF. So is it fair game for us to say that this is a failure on your part? I'm not meaning you specifically, but the RGPF in clamping down on this, on what has become a nuisance.
Well, I must say, Mr. Cadore, that I'm accepting some responsibility in that regard. As I said just now, it's a move for us at the traffic department to deal with some of those issues. It should have been long dealt with. Sometimes we allow persons to go away,
right,
and follow suit, and then at the end of it, you realize that it's difficult to police it or to control it. So what we're doing now is, the issues like this, we champion it. We're going to be hard on it. There's a zero tolerance for persons with the air horns, and especially along with that Grandance route. Myself and the staff is well aware what's going on with those horns, and we, as I stated just now, is aggressive towards it.
I would probably, my recommendation, and I know the RGPF is gonna deal with it, that you start taking some license, because I think that would probably, it would get a driver conscious, because if you're being paid driving, you paid on a daily basis to drive. From the time you hit the horn the first time and you recognize what it is, if you start thinking, you know what, I may lose my license, or even start finding the owners of the vehicle, because some of them would argue it's not my vehicle, I'm just driving, I'm just the employee, then maybe you need to probably start finding the employer as well. Let everybody start feeling it, because believe me, and some of them, they literally use it. When it's annoying you on the road, 4 or 5 vehicles, and you're just hearing this constant barrage of these horns. Believe me, I think, and I'm agreeing with you, but I'm thinking that the RGPF needs to become much more forceful and much more proactive. Literally, go on a campaign, Mr. Commissioner, get rid of them.
Well, I must say, JC, that it's not only for the horn, the issues surrounding those air horns and other gadgets and instruments and persons installing the vehicles, not only with the buses, but the traffic department down here. We've since intensified our operation activities. In fact, all in an effort to reduce the amount of accidents, we have a constant operation with that of speeding along our roads. So if you, for example, come to Grandance, or you're traveling along the Morris Bishop Highway or Calais or Point Public Road, or even Calais Public Road, during certain time of the day, we would have spot checks being done, all in an effort to ensure that persons drive within the speed limit. So we have persons on the ground dealing with issues regarding speeding. We have our foot and mobile patrol persons dealing with what we just discussed, issues related to the conduct of persons on the road as motorists, and also the whole idea of dealing with issues like the bus horns and all those, what would appear to be minor breaches of the law. We also using this medium to sensitize persons, letting persons know that's a good platform to let persons know that the speed limit is there, the signs. It's always important to obey rules, signs. You know, it's an offense. You could be ticketed for not obeying sign, failing to indicate. You could be given a ticket of $100, of $75 for failing to indicate left or right, or even failing to use proper hand signal, and that's under Regulation 26(7)B, A, B, C, and D. You could be ticketed. A lot of persons not aware of those things. We have since erected a lot of signs. I must make mention, JC, of that in going forward. What we're doing at the traffic department, we're warning persons, because in the absence of in the absence of everything, you must have proper road signs, road markings and all things to inform persons, hey, listen, the speed limit in that particular zone is X, is 50, is 40 mph, is 35 mph. So persons cannot forward a simple reason that I never knew. We from end of next month, you see an increase in road signs and so forth, because we have a number of signs through the Ministry of Works that will be shipped on island maybe during the course of next month. So all those things are in the pipeline, JC. And I mean, I could tell you that from where I sit, that in the near future, you would see an increase in road activities from the police point of view. You would see an increase in the erection of signs and road markings and so forth, and an increase also in the amount of the police presence on our roads, all in an effort to curb all those issues where driving with just due attention, recklessness, persons being on the ground to ensure that motorists obey with all those signs and all those regulations.
Let me ask you, Sergeant, because we're running out of time. It's 8 minutes on to 12, and we have to clear the studios for the midday edition. How can the community help? We in a culture where everybody has a device that they seem to record. They take time to record everything is that they're not supposed to record and go social media. How can the public assist? If I see a driver committing an infringement, what can I do? Pull out my cell phone, record it, send it to you? Is that something that is that can be used as to say to the driver, well, listen, we have received a video complaint of you, to start, so at least you can start having a conversation in terms of warning them and informing them?
Well, JC, we always applaud when the community is involved in policing, not only traffic policing, but holistic policing. We always applaud when the persons call in, persons come in, persons relate observations, what they see while they're driving along, or what they see while they're in the community. And we've been since receiving a number of calls and information from persons. As recent as yesterday, I must speak that there was a concerned citizen that would have relayed some parking issues to me, but it was along the Bolio Public Road. We also set up down at the South, a citizen advisory body. We work with the citizen in terms of things that we may not see on a daily basis, getting them involved. They are out there. They would assist us in maybe in ideas, suggestions, and all those things. We've been working along with the Lansapin organization committee. They have a good thing going on there. We have recently do some road markings down there and so forth. And this was done primarily through the information from the Lansapin organization committee, the committee in Lansapin. And it's always a good, as I stated, we always welcome ideas, we always welcome suggestions from the public. I using this platform to implore on persons out there. If you see something, record it. Whether it's in the south of the island or whether it is elsewhere, record it, and I could show you that the information received would be treated in it's as confidential, and it would be acted on. It would not be swept under the carpet, as persons would say, but it would be acted upon, and we would at least at times give feedback to make persons realize that, listen, you're involved, and you're not only involved one way, but the police is also with you, so we provide feedback and so forth. So it's always we welcome suggestions from the public, and I would want them to continue giving us information.
Okay, thank you there, Sergeant Williams, attached to the South St. George department. Indeed, it was a pleasure speaking with you, and I'm looking forward to as you continue with the installation of those road signage and everything, when we can be back on this platform again with me on the mid-morning, so we can update me and we can say congratulations in terms of the installations. I'll remind you, officer, that my cell phone is in my hand. I will be recording. I record in civilian as well as police. So tell the boys that I'll be here. Thanks a lot, Comrade.
All the best, JC, and you have a good day.
Thank you. All the best to you.
Just before I run off, JC, I just want to close by letting persons know it's always proper and it's always good and proper to practice good road ethics, obey the road signs, obey the markings, comply with the police out there. We have some wardens on the street. We have a little difficulty in the amount of cooperation we're getting from the motoring public with regard to the wardens. We just want to inform persons. Treat everybody as police, and again, thanks very much for video ethics, and JC, you be good, man.
I will. You take care, comrade. Take care. 4 minutes on to the hour of 12 o'clock. I've long overstayed my time here. Thank God it's Chris Lena that's in the studios, and she didn't come. If it was Bevan, I see Bevan, I'd be like, what happened? Time to bail out. Anyway, folks, this is where my journey with you ends. For those of you that is on television, I send you back to Master Control for your regular programming. For those of you that's on radio, well, we continue onward bound towards 12 o'clock. That's the top of the hour, which comes up in just about 3 minutes for the midday edition in production of our News and Current Affairs Department, and will be presented by Chrislina John. Peace and love. JC loves you. Continue to live life and love life. Treat each day as though it's your last day here. And if by chance you sleep, you wake, you recognize you're still here. You know what I say? You start living all over again. It's not just okay to exist, but it is okay to live life, because it's what we are here to do. Have a great one. I'm out of here. The midday edition comes up next.